of this 24th Navajo Nation Council that regulations needed to be put in place. Again, the NAPI farming at this point was just a test farming. And so this issue of hemp, I don't believe that there was anybody who knew that this was going to be happening today with the hemp issues that are happening again today. But I just wanted to share that information, Speaker Damon. Again, as a council delegate, we are all required to do homework on legislation that impact our people. And I do have all of this information readily available. If people want to get information on it, I try to cite the information properly so that people can read that for themselves. But I do have to fall back on the fact that we do not have regulations in place. It's my understanding of what has been provided to us by the Navajo Nation Department of Agriculture, and also speaking with Sonny Perdue a few weeks back in Cameron. That was one of the questions that I did pose to him as well, to be clear that the Navajo Nation has not submitted any plans or regulations to the U.S. Department of Agriculture. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Charles Newman. With that, I think the explanation, going into more of the detail language, I think from the regulation portion and the history will bring us to our next segment. And what we can do is listen to the Navajo Nation Department of Justice. And I know they have some experts that are there that are working together with the nation and trying to sort these issues out. So with that, without further ado, let me go over to Navajo Nation Department of Justice. Madam, are you on the line?
I'm here, Speaker.
Great. I don't know who else you have, but we can turn the floor over to you and give you some time to present on the regulations and history.
Okay. Yad Edo, Speaker Damon, and council delegates for the opportunity to speak on this important topic today. And the discussion so far has been very informative. What I'm going to cover under the agenda are just the regulations and history. And some of this has already been covered by Speaker Damon, as well as Chairman Nez and Chairwoman Charles Newton, but I'll go over it as well in context. And just for,
All right. MAG, are you still there? Well, Madam AG is still getting on the line. Is there anybody else on the line from the Department of Justice? I'd like to continue. I know that with the Navajo Nation Department of Justice working together periodically with inside counsel and outside counsel, they have really put together some information regarding this item, regarding the discussion, as we know, hemp, and they've been handling that through the process of what has been put in place and trying to push forward with every possible recommendation and solutions. I hope they'll hear from when Madam AG gets on where we're headed, what direction some council delegates are going to be introducing some legislation for further identifying the goals of meeting the people's real understanding of what we have as an opportunity, whether to move forward with the direction of hemp or whether to stay sustainable as we are right now. So, Man-Made G, are you back on the line? Sometimes.
Speaker Damon, this is Delegate Crotty. While we wait for Madam AG to get back on the line, I wanted to ask if Leo Watchman is still on the line in terms of boards and permits, if he can, if his office can provide a breakdown of all of the farms and the permits and where they're at in terms of when we had the river contamination, there was a farm survey that was completed that provided information on farmland activity. And so from that initial survey, my request is really the status of these permits. Some of the greatest challenges that we face here on Navajo Nation is families and individuals want to work the land, but there's also concerns when it comes to either probate or there hasn't been a proper transfer of the permit. And so I'd like to have that in writing in terms of what is the correct flow for transferring or subleasing permits and the transparency in that process so that it's clear in terms of who does have the authorization for the land usage of the area. Why I'm making this request is I believe at this point, this shows some gaps in terms of our regulations. And most importantly, in my opinion, is the enforcement. And so if individuals are going to take advantage of some of the gaps, not only do I think that's just in terms of their personal integrity, but also when we work with victims and community members who are now challenged, where they feel that they are abiding by the law, now feel that this is a gateway for others to misuse and misrepresent the current regulations and the process that have been passed either through Navajo Nation Council or our federal partners. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Member Crotty. I guess that Madam Chair, did you say that there was a request that you wanted in writing? Maybe I'll go over to Mr. Watchman. Mr. Watchman, are you still on the line?
Yes, I am.
I don't know if you completely heard the whole request, but I'll give you some time to respond, and then I guess more importantly, just a question would arise, I guess, to seeing how long it would take to get some kind of written report too as well.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Yes, we can provide the latest inventory. Delegate Crotty, Amber Crotty had mentioned the Gold King mine that did sort of open the information regarding a complete inventory. And in a nutshell, we probably have less than 30% of qualified use of all the permits within the San Juan irrigated area. And we are currently out there, as we speak, working on the annual inventory, and we can provide that within a couple weeks, the latest information we have. And I do appreciate the question.
Thank you. Mr. Watchman, the Speaker Damon, I have one question before we go back to Madam Attorney General, does the Division of Natural Resources have a enforcement agency?
Mr. Speaker. Yes, there are probably some other people who can speak on that. Under the Department of Ag, we do not have an enforcement agency commission, but there's Fish and Wildlife. There's also the Rangers, the Resource Enforcement. I think Forestry. We do have one ranger that it's mainly on what we focus on is mainly livestock. However, as we move forward here with compliance when it comes down to misuse, non-use, yes, we do need that in the future. And this might be the best time as any to basically establish or reaffirm what is already there on prioritizing. Thank you.
That's maybe something the council can look at in this year's budget too as well, identifying something like that to help assist in these and getting some kind of assistance for your department. So just a thought.
Yeah.
With that, Anime G, are you back on the line? Anybody from the Department of Justice?
Speaker Damon, while we wait for Madam AG, may I ask another question to Department of Ag?
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Speaker, and our relatives listening and my colleagues on the line. Mr. Watchman, thank you for your response. When I'm reviewing the survey for the land usage, one area that was raised was homes that were being built on farmland. And so the land department did issue a moratorium on homes being built on farmland use. Can you provide guidance in terms of the type of structures that can be, what type of structures are permitted with these farm permits? Because our move was our goal is to have 100% production on farmland, but also 100% comply with the limitations of these permits for agriculture use. Would this be an area that I believe I know your division director is on the line, Mr. Shabala. Has there been any talks with Mr. Mike Colonna on the issue? And then what is the next step for enforcement? And so I know we're waiting for Attorney General to get on the line, but I'm asking in terms of a program stance. What authority do you have, and what can we do to move forward? Thank you.
Mr. Watchman.
Thank you for the question, Mr. Speaker, and also Delegate Crotty. I appreciate that. On the question probably lies into the future, because there's been different fashions, different leaderships over the years, and yes, there are homes that have been built, erected, permanent homes on farmlands. And the justification, and I'm not sure how that was approved, that having to procure the land and those kind of things, and it's culturally meets cultural standards, I guess the best way to say it. However, as we move forward in terms of some of the areas in which the code says you should not have anything erected within your permitted area. There are shelters or shacks and storage facilities and that's probably what we would advocate, for folks that are traveling in and needing those type of facilities to procure their crops or property. I think it has to probably reaffirm under legislation what is allowed and disallowed, and to basically maybe start over, because there are several land use permits in irrigated, non-irrigated that have homes on there. And I guess it's because of scarcity of land, I'm not sure, but Mike Colonna under land administration probably will further answer why they were permitted. From the part of the VAG, we disallowed them to be permitted, but they still go on.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Watchman. That is Madam AG. Are you back on the line? If the Navajo Nation Department of Justice is, maybe what we can do is we can come back to them. And let's go ahead and continue on down. How about the Navajo Nation Division of Public Safety? I know that we have a response from them, and I'm not too sure if we have Mr. Anybody from the DPS on the line?
Yes, Speaker. Jesse Delmar here. And I believe the Chief of Police. I believe the Chief of Police. Yeah, thank you, Speaker. I invited the Chief of Police to join me and also the Director of Criminal Investigations. I believe both of them are here with us, sir.
Okay, great. Well, I'll go ahead and give the floor over to you, Mr. Delmar, and to the Chief. Thank you, everyone, for being on the line this afternoon.
Well, thank you, Speaker, and thank you for inviting us too as well to this conversation. And good afternoon to the Navajo people too as well. Madam Chair Charles Newton, Chairman Mays, Honorable Amber Karate. I heard each one of you. A lot of it you had covered up to this point in time, from the change of Title 17, the lack of regulations, and I just want to reiterate some things that were said just a while ago. The current status of this issue that we have is, as Chairman Nez expressed, and also Madam Chair Charles Min in general, as the current status of how the laws have changed, and also how this is evolving to the state. As Chairman Nez mentioned, that he pretty much established the authority, who has the authority to state, and the variance between the tribal council and also the farm board as far as authority is concerned, and who is authorized currently, who is authorized to go ahead and move forward with this. Chairman Nez and the only folks that were authorized to move forward with this initiative is Inal Kato Leshato Nido the Kribashi Beshwa Anshanaki Haji Dokun like he mentioned just a while ago, is that the New Mexico State University was the only entity that was authorized to do this research on hemp. And also, Madam Chair, between marijuana and also the difference of hemp and the THC levels. So currently at this point in time, in New Mexico State University, they're the only entity that I'm aware of that was given authority. Regulations so I just want to reiterate that, and also I want to let the folks know that we didn't stop. Navajo police, Navajo law enforcement, even federal law enforcement, we're continuing to monitor this. That's all I'm going to say as far as enforcement is concerned with regard to criminal statutes from the Navajo Nation level, and also from the federal government. I think the chief of police is online with us too. Chief, are you there? Thank you, Speaker.
Hey, Chief, are you there? Mr. Delmar, did you say you had somebody else as well?
Yes, sir. I thought I had the chief of police, Chief Francisco, with me. I invited him, and also Michael Henderson from Criminal Investigations.
Okay, I don't know if you want Mr. Henderson. I don't know if he's on the line.
Go ahead, Mike.
Oh yeah, the Mike Henderson. So here, koto no anigi. Are nihinat ani kihaho kashigido and peshmas an nolenigi. Aro are chikwasi nolenigi da isono agi. Kehe koto shahol. She di kachi nin shlido ma idishki ni bashishin. Koto chi ni idashiche. Sayakin sakab dado adona sha adishta. Di kojit nebs allowed da inish da al-Qahaja criminal investigations be hodolzen. Aja between shle benant ani in shlo odishna. Di kodoba hoint enigi nat na ishagi marijuana be bedot jinigi ado quet non se betahonigi betatho ado betho what out cho inigi so the quick machine is out cho a kodi betho and lenigi na el kago so be has ani be natlo di betho gi jo ya you see THC so no ya jo hana ana ni de gon hinat ani aja khas tweet so na al kido na el kago di betogi bet se do taso aden nel kido so di asha besul ligi bikana lon ta chi lako nel kido jo ko ya do be hazada jo hada be hazani holodi the nabikiya naso bikagi in the tanre Washington de be hazani so da hota akodi kodon nishina il khako the never be has ani a walia business teacher. Kel Kwanko Arjun Ilka. In the Tanaway Washington, they be has ani. Kel Kwanko in Ilka. A Kodiba had Akon Latisha. As they Naisagisa, Takadolia. That nice nonest, no. Nihil had Koi Dado Ad. A deep again Ilka. It's $7 $1,000. That's what I need. Cash a cheap law that's a be hollow. It's a $1,000. That's what that's the Ero Tago that's the cash a cheap as it Abi Yagi. Joe had a Sanilka. Ni cash a cheap lago il kigo. Joe add a got a because Annie though you have under the never has of a car, you don't go to Washington and they has Annie. A hot ego go age or hot a yan away. But it a hit hot on il car, a behasil. A codi car cheap yagi next kiddo. It's a dot tashigi. Joe hot ego go a has Annie a to Shabah Noda. Quay ago, Halados ni. Jo hat you see a big outdoor lessiki patten cut. Trade and the beta in Nishiko, Kahasin so. A con the la. Quay, it's a dozen kidgo. Hardly cheap lao el kidgo. Jo hat ago Kodo ani behas ani kel tongoni ido hata benelnish. Wali apahile khasin so. Akodi bachu huita hata ya delnish kota. La da hata ndafil khadi nabikaya. Nahasso bikhagi biyiki. Hata on delnish kota khasin so ko. On tsogweni hata ona aro de ko. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Is that do we have the chief online then, Mr. Delmore?
Let me give him a reminder, speaker.
Okay.
I'll give him a call.
Okay. Well, if not, what we can do is if there's any questions referring back to your office, we can, if you would stay on the line. And then let me go back to, I think we really want to hear the Attorney General, Ms. Paul, are you back on the line?
Speaker, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
So, did you hear any of the presentation?
I think we heard you introducing yourself, and then that's it.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, I can't hear anything other than sitting in front of the phone here talking. So I did my whole presentation, but I'm happy to do it again.
Okay, we would appreciate that.
Okay, and then if I get cut off, if somebody would text me and let me know, that would be great.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. And Speaker, thank you for the putting this together today with the council, and I appreciate the opportunity to present on the topic here. And my assigned discussion topic is the hemp regulations and the history. So I want to first start out that a lot of this has been covered by Speaker Damon, as well as Chairman Nez and Chairwoman Charles Newton. And I'll just go over some of that same information, but I'll try to do it in chronological order for you here. And starting out since at least 1977, marijuana has been a criminal offense in the Navajo Nation. So production, delivery, and possession of marijuana has been a criminal offense since at least 1977. In 2000, the Navajo Nation Council amended the criminal code and clarified the definition of marijuana to mean any part of the plant that contains 1.4% or more THC. So anything less than 1.4 THC is not considered marijuana. And as Delegate Charles Newton explained in that resolution, the distinction between industrialized hemp and marijuana was explained. And just for everyone's knowledge, hemp and marijuana come from the same plant. Both have a molecule called THC, and how much THC determines whether the plant is hemp or marijuana. Delegate Charles Newton also talked about the 2014 Farm Bill that lowered the amount of allowable THC from 1.4% to 0.3%. And in the 2018 Farm Bill, which was also mentioned by Speaker Damon, that authorized the cultivation of industrial hemp, which again is different than marijuana. The 2018 Farm Bill did not automatically allow for the cultivation of industrial hemp within the Navajo Nation. What the 2018 Farm Bill did was to change the federal definition of marijuana to cannabis with 0.3% or more THC. And it also made hemp, which is anything with less than 0.3% THC, it made hemp an ordinary agricultural commodity. The 2018 Farm Bill preserves the authority of states and tribes to enact and enforce laws regulating the production of hemp that are more strict than the federal law. So states and tribes can continue to enforce laws prohibiting the cultivation of hemp, or they can enact legislation allowing the cultivation of hemp. And it doesn't matter what our surrounding states do in terms of legalizing marijuana or allowing for cultivation of hemp. Just like alcohol remains illegal on the Navajo Nation, so does hemp cultivation until the Navajo Nation Council decides otherwise through our legislative process.
Are you busy? Oh, really? Okay.
All right, I'll continue.
Go ahead.
So in 2018, the Navajo Nation Council again changed the definition of marijuana in the criminal code. So marijuana is now defined as any part of the plant that contains more than 0.3% THC, as opposed to the 1.4% that was in the code since 2000. So any amount of THC less than 0.3% is not marijuana for purposes of the criminal code. And marijuana is still a criminal offense, and the THC level has to be proven. That 2018 resolution made very clear, and I'm going to quote, it says, the enactment of this resolution does not authorize the cultivation, growth, possession, development, or propagation of industrial hemp until the Navajo Nation creates a regulatory system for industrial hemp and obtains the necessary and applicable permits for industrial hemp. So last year in June 2019, the council approved a research and development project involving NAPI and NMSU to determine the best hemp production plants for cultivation in the many growing zones and conditions on the Navajo Nation. So this was a very limited project to a very small specific area and only allowed cultivation by those specific entities, NAPI and NMSU. In May of this year, that NAPI and NMSU experimental program was expanded to a larger size. So the first hemp project that was authorized in 2019 with NAPI and NMSU was a 200 square foot project. This year that was expanded to an area of 5 acres. But that resolution specifically states, and I'm going to quote this again, the Navajo Nation has not adopted a regulatory system for industrial hemp and has not authorized the growth, possession, development, or propagation of industrial hemp on the Navajo Nation. That resolution further warns that, quote, farmers on the Navajo Nation should be aware that industrial hemp was and still is unauthorized on the Navajo Nation, and forewarned that the planting of hemp could place their farm permits in jeopardy for growing a banned or unauthorized crop. And in the letter to Speaker Damon from President Nez when he signed this resolution into law, he also stated that the Navajo people must keep in mind that the growth, cultivation, and marketing of industrial hemp is still unauthorized and can place Navajo farm permits in jeopardy when growing outside of this pilot project. Delegate Eugenia Charles Newen emphasized that the Navajo Nation has not yet created a regulatory system for the cultivation, growth, possession, development, or propagation of industrial hemp. It is not legal within the Navajo Nation to grow and cultivate hemp outside of that limited research and development project with NAPI and NMSU. So any hemp cultivation outside of that research project, just to be very clear, is against Navajo civil law. And I don't know if I was cut off at the outset of this the first time, but in my capacity as Attorney General overseeing the Department of Justice, our department is charged with representing the Navajo Nation government. And so we represent the 3 branches of government, the 110 chapters, and the executive branch programs, including the programs that you've heard from today, including the Department of Public Safety, Department of Natural Resources, and the Department of Agriculture. Those are all entities that we work with in a legal capacity to protect the legal interests of the Navajo Nation. We also oversee the Office of the Prosecutor, which has the specific charge of enforcing the nation's criminal code. So they handle all of the criminal prosecutions based on the police reports that are referred for prosecution, among other things. So in our capacity here at Department of Justice, I just want to share that we have 3 civil actions pending in tribal court related to hemp cultivation, as well as related to hemp business activity. And our department regularly defends the sovereignty and laws of the Navajo Nation against the federal government, against the states, and against other parties seeking to harm the Navajo Nation. And because these matters are pending in tribal court, that's where the decisions will be made with respect to the hemp activities, including the hemp business activities. We have a court hearing in one of those cases that was just set for tomorrow. And in the hemp cultivation lawsuit, we have a hearing that was just scheduled for Monday. So we hope for some resolution in the tribal courts very soon. And I do want to share that with respect to criminal activity, even though hemp is not a illegal criminal offense under the criminal code, there are other criminal offenses that can be reported to the police department, and we encourage people with information related to criminal activity to report that to the police department. With respect to the civil lawsuits and the hemp cultivation, we recommend and request that people make those reports here to the Department of Justice. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you very much, Madam AG, for that presentation and giving the update on the guidelines. With that, let me go back to my colleagues. Any questions for Madam AG or Mr. Delmar? I think he's still on the line too as well. Comments, questions? I think that we're really clearly defined. I don't know, maybe, oh, go ahead, Madam Chair, sorry.
Thank you, Speaker. I appreciate the report by Mr. Delmar, Mr. Henderson, and Attorney General McPaul. My question is regarding in understanding talking with the community is the activity that's taken place at the hemp production in compliance with Navajo Nation health declaration, and in working with individuals who are abiding by the curfew and staying home. Could law enforcement give us an idea in terms of why or what some guidance in terms of what are the parameters with that health curfew and how that impacts the hemp production and the activities that take place in that site? Thank you.
I guess I can go back over to Mr. Delmar.
Yes, Speaker. I believe the Chief of Police is on right now. Chief Francisco, are you on?
Yes, sir. Chief Francisco is on now. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, go ahead, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. I can give a quick update of kind of what we've been doing with the police department as far as this whole issue with the hemp in the area of Shiprock. So we were aware of this, over a year ago of some of the issues, and we were talking with DOJ and other entities with the Navajo Nation on the legalities of that. So we did try to move forward with the criminal case, and what you heard from the Attorney General and everybody else is there is some limitations because of the threshold of the THC. So we have found that everything right now, as far as the police department is concerned on the hemp, is a civil matter. So that's something that we don't handle, and that's been referred back over to the Navajo Nation government, the council, and the Attorney General's office, like the AG Doreen McPaul just said. So, but I know there's a concern with other crimes or other safety issues with the community that are adjacent to hemp, that are actually hemp or marijuana related, but the activities such as we have traffic, we have non-native visitors, we have curfew violations, we have a lot of threatening of some of our civilians, but our community members in the Shiprock area. So a lot of these are coming up. There's also allegations of bootlegging and meth, and just general concern for public safety is coming from the community. So what I have done is I do have a couple officers assigned to solely take all these reports, regardless how small they are, and actually document these. And we'll move forward with what we can. It really depends on the situation, if it's criminal or if it's a civil type of litigation that needs to move forward with a different department. So I have an active staff working on those. And if there's something that we need to move forward and forward to the prosecutor's office, we're doing that. And we're out there trying to do as much as we can to limit the illegal activities, the curfew violations and things. So I'm working with the chief prosecutor on the same thing we've done since the beginning of the COVID pandemic, is filing a curfew violation citations with the court. So we're doing the same thing in those areas. So because there's such a concern from the community right now, we get a lot of complaints that we've made that small task force with my officers in that area. We have also assigned our traffic unit to do some traffic patrols in that area to try to curb some of the concerns with the community. So, the hemp versus marijuana thing has been a big issue, and there's a lot of concerns out there. So my main concern is just public safety, and I know there's that concern. So please don't hesitate to call the police department, the Shiprock Police Department, and if you're not getting a satisfactory response from the police district, please call headquarters and talk to one of my staff or myself up at headquarters so we can try to address your needs, and we'll try to route it the right way to the right courts or the right process. And if we can't do that, then we'll explain why. But we'll still take your concern because we want to know what's going on out there, because my biggest concern is for the safety of our community. So I hope that answered your question, Delegate Crotty.
Thank you, Chief, for being a part of this discussion. Any other comments, questions, colleagues?
Yes, Speaker Damon, this is Delegate Nez.
Yes, go ahead, Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Madam A.G. McPaul, as well as Chief Francisco, Aro, Mr. Belmore, and Mr. Henderson. Aro dais not agishin na ara di bakan hinne di hemp olge Khalid Edo not person I Sahagish Kate Abasahana Neliki, Doshot Eda Ashot Nenigi Krobe Pahuint. Ako Chief Francisco Kroha Jigo Nela for the safety of our communities, Nela. Did not on in there's just a lot of Aja E Besta Hosnet Nela. Besta Hosnet Di Quite out of Doqui Big Harabana al Deco go deep and not Di. Get elegehegi, hemp peochigi, do go para hosnet. Ako ado big haradano, egoshi, hajo, not source the hadadoshis, edo dagoday, aris labs the hadosnet, and raise a cohort, edo what anchors, Tabadon Noda. So, Mr. Francisco, you just spoke to us, and thank you for your also addressing the issue of hemp and your staff and the police officers. I know you all put your lives on the line, and thank you for that. It is a matter that's becoming a major issue here along San Juan River, and people are screaming and saying, stop this madness. There's something wrong here. Where is our leaders? Why is this not being taken care of? But I'm glad that you're addressing the matter as far as curfews. Yes, we have non-natives, people that have license plate coming in from California and Canada onto our native lands on weekends. How do they address it? Who you said to call the Shiprock Department, the police department there. What will happen when some of these native people are doing their business on weekends? Will they be arrested? And who will take care of these issues? That's the communities, our communities, and the safety of our people is a major concern in these areas. That's my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Nez.
Speaker Damon, this is Delegate Charles Coon.
Let me go back to getting Chairman Nez's question answered, and then I'll come to you, Madam Chair. Mr. Delmar?
Yes, sir. I'll give it to the Chief of Police because he's dealing with this issue directly. Chief, go ahead.
Okay. Chief, go ahead.
All right. Yes, sir. So we have done actually a lot more than I just covered right now. Some of it I don't want to talk about because, there's some investigations, but I've been working with not only our own police department, we work with the federal agencies, working with the county agencies, immigration. We've been working with all those different entities to find a solution, and the chief prosecutor on how we move forward, because how we process non-native for arrests, even citations, is different than our own native people. So there is some struggles and difficulties with that, but we're working pretty hand in hand with all the agencies. So when any violation comes up, we're working as a team to try to address this issue, because this issue just does not impact just the Navajo Nation, but we have our neighbors in the counties and the states off the reservation that are also concerned with this kind of thing. So, I have a lot of conversations with those, the sheriffs and the other state entities on how we can do this, and also our federal partners, including BIA. So there's a lot of going on behind the scenes. I can't get into a whole lot of details because obviously there's still investigations, but I will tell you that we're doing a lot to try to figure out a way to address these things. So me and Chief Prosecutor are having conversations every day about how we move forward if we stop a non-native, these foreign workers violating the curfew. So there was a legislation passed by council prohibiting visitors and tourists on the Navajo Nation. Although that is in place, there's no really enforcement mechanism. We can't cite them or arrest them for that. It's going to be something we have to go find creative ways. Same thing we do with the curfew violation, criminal nuisance, or different things. So it's really kind of depends on the situation, what we have in front of us, but we are trying to address it as best we can, in either having them leave the reservation or giving them civil citations, or there's a large array of different ways we handle this. It really depends on the situation. But I will tell you that all my staff is working really hard with our partners to try to find a resolution and provide the best safety for our communities that we can as a team. So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Speaker, this is Speaker Jesse Delmar. I have an additional comment.
Oh, go ahead.
Thank you, Speaker. Chairman Nance, thank you. Just for your information, spouse, that she, Madam Chair Charles Newton, prosecutor in Lena and Crown Point, that when we're dealing with these people, we're dealing with different nationalities beyond the Navajo people and Indian people. We're dealing with three primary jurisdictions. We're dealing with the federal jurisdiction, dealing with state jurisdiction to include county, and also tribal jurisdiction as well. So depending on the nationality of the folks that we're dealing with, whether they're a victim or a subject in a criminal matter, we take into consideration these three primary jurisdictions. I just wanted to add that comment. Thank you, Speaker.
Great. Madam Chair, Charles Zimmerman.
Yeah, Speaker Damon, Otto, Mr. Delmar, Mr. Francisco, and Mr. Henderson, thank you for the presentation. Otto, Madam Chair, AG, thank you so much for clarifying that information. I want to go back and I want to reiterate the importance of the letter that was sent by the Office of the President and Vice President when they did sign CMY-43-20 into law. And Madam AG did talk about it, but I think it's really important that we emphasize this information. And it states within the letter, the Navajo people must keep in mind that the growth, cultivation, and marketing of industrial hemp is still unauthorized and can place Navajo farm permits in jeopardy when grown outside of this pilot research project. My question is, what exactly does that sentence mean? And I think that it's important that our Navajo people have a full understanding of what it means to put your Navajo farm permits in jeopardy. What I would like to know is what, in situations where there is hemp being grown outside of the pilot research project, which is at Nappy, what is going to happen to the Navajo farmer who agreed to have hemp grown on their farm? What will happen to their permit? And I know that this may be a question for Dr. Shabala with the Navajo Nation Department of Agriculture and also with the United States, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, the BIA, who does have some say-so in these farm permits. My understanding is at the very beginning of this talk, Honorable Rick Nash did point out, what we normally see on farms. But I think it's very important for our people to know what could happen to their farm permits in that situation. The other thing that I do want to talk about, or that I do want to state again, is the statement made that we can't speak about the investigation. I think at the very beginning, Honorable Rick Naz did say, people are asking, Hajans and not on, where did they go? How come they're not talking about this? So to the Navajo people who are listening, elected officials are held to a very high standard with ethics. And within the ethics rules, it does state on page 9 of the ethics book, no elected official shall disclose or use information designated by applicable law as confidential in any manner prohibited by law, nor shall any elected official disclose or use any information disclosed in an executive session. Many of the council delegates have been in executive session regarding the issue on hemp. And for that reason, we cannot, and I say it again, we cannot talk about the issues that are specific to some of the farmlands here. We can discuss the hemp matter, but we have been advised not to speak about anything else. So I do want to put that out there for myself, for my colleagues as well, and I'm sure they're getting the same text messages and the same information out there. But we, again, as elected officials, we are held to a very high standard with ethics. And any elected official who has spoken on this issue can be brought into ethics for that issue, for that matter. And so I think it's only fair for Navajo people to understand that. And again, all of this is laws that are readily available. You can go onto the internet. You can get this information. I always say, if you have time to get onto Facebook, you have time to do some research. So, thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With that question, I don't know if Department of Justice wants to answer that question, referring to the grazing permits, or Mr. Watchman. You're still on the line.
Speaker, this is Doreen.
Go ahead, Madam AG.
Thank you, Speaker, and thank you, Delegate Charles Newton, for not only the question, but the information about the ethics and the confidentiality of some of this information. There's a lot of information that is public information, like the laws, the court pleadings, to the extent that those are public, those are available, and we intend to make the pleadings in the hemp cultivation litigation more accessible on our website, and so we will place the complaint up there, and we will place the other pleadings that have been filed in that case up on our website so that they're more readily accessible. But with respect to the confidential information that we share, for example, in litigation updates that disclose strategy and/or other information that we're working through, it is, Delegate Charles Newton is right that is not information that is publicly available, and I think it's more sensitive when it comes to the criminal investigation work that our public safety partners are doing. There's a lot of information that they just don't share because they can't share it. And so civil litigation, we can share a little bit more in executive session, and we try to keep the leadership updated on that. But what they can share is what is publicly available. But the other question with respect to the language in the letter from President Nez to speakers, it's also outlined in the resolution itself, where it talks about forewarning farmers that planting hemp place their farm permits in jeopardy for growing a banned or unauthorized crop. And I think this relates back to a question that was asked by Chairman Nez at the outset of the discussion here, relating to the farm permits issued by BAA and what products can be planted. And, they talked about what legal products can be planted. And I think that's the issue that's presented here, is that if farmers are planting anything that is not authorized, an illegal product, including hemp, that subjects their permit to be revoked by the BIA. But I defer to also Department of Ag or DNR to provide any additional information beyond that. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Madam AG. I don't know if anybody's still on the Department of Ag that maybe wants to add on to that.
Well, this is Leo Watchman. I guess that was fairly covered. In terms of what the position or application we probably need to work on, and I do appreciate the comments made by Delegate Charles Newton. We will have to make a assured effort to explain the purpose of a permit, and then also the latitudes in which has been described earlier, referencing that if it's any kind of illegal activity, you are subject to losing your permit or that permit being revoked. I believe the BIA has basically expressed verbally that all they would need is a notification from what they view as probably the resource committee, that to begin proceedings to revoke based on findings. So the Department of Agriculture, our role will probably be to get back out and say to all of these permit holders that you are, you basically your been granted a permit, and there's a compliance to it. If you don't meet the compliance, then it's subject to being revoked, canceled, so forth. So we will be doing that as we speak, Mr. Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much. Well, answering that question, I know that we have a little bit more time here with on the radio, and probably continue this discussion too as well. Thank you everyone for being on the line and getting this information out to our Navajo people across the whole Navajo Nation, and even outside the Navajo Nation. Thank you for all the listeners that are listening in, where you're on YouTube, Vimeo, Facebook, and everybody that's listening to us on KGAK and Indian. With that, I really want to see Chairman Ned, if you could elaborate, maybe a recap and the way that you do it best in Navajo, and explaining what we all discussed here today. I think from that point, it would be giving a real good explanation on moving forward. So, Chairman Nez?
Yeah, Honorable Speaker Damon, Honorable Charles Noon, and everyone on the line. Not what's in a Sahaki, Betishikate, Edo, Halate, Art, and they so a chigit, Hakito, but Okoko, Hemp, don't know what you go, not what's a Sagi, but Hogi, what Genoyan has neck on that Kahik, it on his love as Ajigi, a Koti Corona source Hadelia. Neitzel state in his president and land, Jonathan Nez, not Toskai, Ako Nela, should an end of Sani, Jono Yaski, Navajo people. Either has Joban so case. Did the nest ain't no single Hemp or Yegi, and the man set out at the Sleto Shana Hanito no single, though Bahas Ada do be a hot eater. A hot Zago Yahatish and Nan of Seneki, Nihitak, a Heki, the Nad Sosiki. It also Pahtahitos as Nihigadol Sostat, a Hessian between Hodor, Nikibinina, a Dido Ben Hafort, it as Nan of Nini, Ashmore Ben Nanhoshka. Haydata, Akon his no, Edo Hot Eda should Nan of Niniki, and in his not or Hot Eda behas Anik isn't here, Hoji Zago. A cotate never not Ani need Niniki, yet that is me. Yeah, that did make all that it need. The never now stop a kai behas ani hatit eheki ebik ehunch edo koro hajo be shnisto that need yeah. Do hajo be need nishko. Halan hidanen hajol leg on ha is an hajot lehebini nachu e behas ani ki bahotini zendo let yeah. Ok he tito hit ashi o. Oh, I could any zingo be loco. Or the never not any to know together. The never be has any bahos dosen of a just ingo 80 dog is the door later. Heda edo be babos net lingo that or shadow either to know it or the never tranjagada door lay. Do hot either. Be has any isn't kick away quick and nice door kish. Kala hot eye behas ani behad it a cobe did the never ani jilnego or be dished in Satoshi lago base of a seasons and go 80 ben Yaha is the lashik isn't hit or let your hot eye a snitty conflicts of interest. Aqua bake is thought last aqua be aqua at the achit ego codo nan nispe ha his need of a ha tot lego beha is nelga. Do hot era should none of Sani, those none, I don't know, Seniki are not hot. A Koti Coron when Hitler has Neki, Nidobe has another. So that Asagobe has up national cat or lego get it all gate, Kaya Hot Sarge, NAPI. Put that the Aftraki agent as Kaki in Mexico State University, Hampton Yibet has Aji. So the Aqui gate a hapa a hot أنا خادك إردو لجسك إيدو بهز آرا أكو ديهن سجوين كتشتاش لادو أرو شهن هردش نتايس نوك آجي هيلا ياندات إيدو خليت أرو باهين إيدا شينوسن جدي كرون جنان شديني زنكي بهز آني هذا ديل تو بكهو إيجو سهوت آرا دو نيسو بتزيل جو دو نيسو يجو بقو خلون جو دو نيس تشارا نهس أنت أورا نهتي أوت نو بقو قات نو دات إيرو تايسة شاء نهجة تهي لهدو بقو خلون فيس خش تيشن بهز آني شين ساهدات أو بهدادت إنت بقو آتات سن أكو قريشن يجو هجو بقو خلون دو نيسو دو هتا دي هتا نه هت إيرو دو ليسبن يه Ons tegelijk zijn aardelezen nero snand aan nog zijn niet uit nog aanke.
Thank you very much, Chairman Nez, for that overview. With that, let me go back to. I have some time for Madam Chair Charles Newman, and then I'll go to Madam Chair Amber Crotty. Madam Chair Charles Newman.
Thank you, Shitsula Speaker David Shinado Honorable Witness for interpreting the way that you do. I do want to make it clear that we are not trying to scare people. All of this can be found online, and we're just stating the facts. We, as elected officials, held our hands up to uphold the law. Until the law changes, we're kind of in this situation where we have to uphold the current law. Now, I said it on the floor, and I'll say it again. With this industrialized hemp, once the regulations are in place and they're available for the people to view, then I think at that point it becomes a decision whether the Navajo people want to engage in industrialized hemp. And then if they want to do it on their private property, or if it's going to go directly to NAPI. I believe in businesses, and as stated, even as far back as 1996, there was an awareness brought that industrialized hemp is something that the Navajo Nation considers for economic development. And I think that is really the crux of this whole, the reason why these legislations proceeded forward. If you look at the past legislations, each one talk about economic development. And I think that, once the Navajo people have that education and that understanding, then I think that they can make the decision on which way, to go with industrialized hemp. But again, all of this is just factual information. And if you just go back and you research this information, it's there. And I think that I just want to state that and state that we've had many debates on this issue. But again, as elected officials, we have to uphold the law. We have to follow what the law states. Even though we may or may not be in agreement with it, it is still our ethical duty to follow what the law states, which is why many of us did not speak about the cases that are going on. So with that, Speaker Damon, I do appreciate the time and the clarification again that the purpose of reiterating this information is not to scare people, but to share with them the factual information that's out there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair Charles Newman. Let me go on down to Madam Chair Amber Crotty.
Thank you, Speaker, and colleagues, and especially the people listening in. I think what's important is at this point, we're talking about community concerns. So I wanted to yield my time to Ms. Linda Hayes so that she can raise some of the community concerns that she's living with while Window Rock decides what to do and how we can restore some safety back to our community. Linda?
Hi, Yat Esh, Linda Hayes, Nisha, Northern Rapla Nishna, Jose Tachini Bashis Chi, Northern Rapla Dasha Che, Do Torichini Dashanova, I am speaking as not only a community coordinator for the Gutty Oz community, but also as a resident and farmer of the Shiprock community. And we farmers do have, and the community as I'm representing, we do have concerns. What constitutes a criminal trespass if it's not allowed? Our water concerns, water permits, the drilling of waters, the contamination of our natural environment and our water. We want answers to these. And going on, the impact that these productions have on our environment and our wildlife, all the pollutants, the noise, the sound, the smell, the wastewater, the effects that the fertilizers have. These are true concerns that we have not been addressed by our leadership. And for, we do hold our leadership to a high standard. And for us as a community, we do not appreciate being laughed off. We want to know law, what is allowed and what isn't allowed. So this is coming as, Shinat Ani, we're holding you all 24 of you accountable to, the people. We want to know, how are we going to live, with this? Is it going to be mitigated, or are we going to continue to live in fear? So that's all I have to say at this time. Thank you, Shinat Ani.
Thank you very much for your concerns. With that, thank you, Madam Chair. The goal, I guess, here today, yes, again, is to raise this issue and most importantly, get this topic going with leadership, but most importantly, too, as well. Navajo Nation Council, as you know, is a legislative branch of the government. I just want everybody to know that what we're doing here is we're basically enforcing and trying to help assist the executive branch and trying to make sure that the executive branch upholds its responsibility for what the Navajo Nation Council enacts. And having these discussions further helps assist in that. So I just want to personally thank everybody that's on the line here today. Thank you very much from all the executive offices. Thank you very much to my colleagues of the 24th Navajo Nation Council. Thank you to all the listeners out there. This is what the Navajo Nation government and Navajo Nation Council is working towards, is making sure that we come up with solutions, and this is a possibility of recommendations. So again, I just want to thank everybody for listening in this afternoon. Please remember to stay safe and protect yourselves against the spread of the COVID-19. As we know, we're still in this pandemic, and you can become involved by staying up to date with the Navajo Nation Council at NavajoNationCouncil.org or any current information. So I just want to say again, thank you to everybody that's listening in on Facebook, Vimeo, YouTube, and all our listeners out there on the Great Navajo Nation that's listening on the radio here today, this afternoon. Have a good day. Stay safe out there, and we will connect with you once more again. Chat.
Oh, Arnold, again,
Thank you all for listening.
Ahiaha, we look forward to working with you to restore our communities. I appreciate Speaker and my colleagues for being on the call.